Okay, guys. So, guys. So, here's an entry for my job hunting diary. This is what I've noticed about looking for work in the United States. Okay, some places they pay a professional like a teacher 20,000, $20,000 a year, and it's California. It's not like Appalachia or anything. It's California. Is in the middle of California with nice weather and nice homes and nice communities. And they pay teachers, professional teachers, 20,000. And in other places like wherever, a teacher can barely get by on 40,000 because homes cost so much more. Real estate costs so much more, and everything else costs so much more, taxes and whatever. So on my resume, I'm asking for 67,000, but that's because I'm thinking of New York City, like Manhattan. All right. So say if you're in South Dakota, if you're in Tennessee, Oklahoma, and you say like we'll give you 40,000 because like our VP makes 60,000 already, and the homes here are only 80,000 or 100,000. You tell me that, I'll say yeah, sure. I'll think about it seriously. But I'm thinking about Manhattan, and like a little rat infested place is already $1,000 a month. So that I'm pricing myself accordingly to Manhattan. But talking about income disparity, um, it's okay. It seems like it's okay if it's spread out across America, like in parts of California, it's 20,000 for a teacher, and then gradually as you move towards New York, it's 60,000 or something, and in between, it just kind of ramps up slowly. But if it all happens in a tight space, like in that town, like one block over, the teacher makes 60,000, you got a real serious problem. Um, Talking about income disparity, uh, using the case of Canada, 20% of the population makes 50% of the income. The other 80% make the remaining 50% of the income. And some of these things are generational monopolies. They're entrenched monopolies by law, um, and sometimes uh, it's just an executive, decision can have one of these monopolies in the pocket of private money for a very long time. Like, all right, so Rogers Communication, some of that company you can buy on the Canadian Stock Exchange, but only a portion. Theoretically, you cannot buy 100% of that company in stocks. It maxes out at about 20 or 30%. If you were to buy every Rogers Communication stock on the Canadian, Toronto Stock Exchange, every last one, you would only own about 30% of the company. You can't even own 100% of the company, only 30%. The rest are like other private ownership, other things. Um, and what has happened is that that corporation, it owns the professional baseball team, owns the professional um, basketball team, and so on and so forth, has gone to an investment bank to get the money. And I don't know, I shared this already. I don't know why people aren't attuned to it. But they're like iHeart. They whatever they make, they got paid back to the money to this investment bank that they borrowed. And how do I know it? They filed it with the government. I don't know why Canadians don't know this. It's part of their what they call, I don't know what Canadians call it now. They have all these funny words for their quasi-capitalism, uh, uh, socialism system. You know what I mean? But Rogers Communication is in the hawk to an investment bank. You say, which one? Which one? It's going to take 100 years to educate you. First, you have to convince these people, right? Like the main thing in Canada is that you have a job, you have paid employment. If you don't have paid employment, you're trash. So you have to convince these people, right? So it's a scary situation. But going back to the case of the United States, when 20% of the population make 50% of the income, and the other 80% make the rest of the 50%. And the government sort of like just takes care of the street cleaning. So when you walk on a public, if you're a tourist, you know, seriously, you would only walk on a public street. Like, you know, some wise Canadian say, I'll invite you in to see my nice home. They're weird people. Right. You would only walk on the street. The government cleans the street, cleans the graffiti. But when 80% make 50% of the income, the other 20% make the other 50% of the income, I don't think these Canadians really get it. Right. It does. I don't think their brain can accept anything other than someone with paid employment and white and has a title. These people are weird people, Canadians. All right. So I don't mind moving to a small place in California as so long as the income is distributed. But if you have a community where 20% of the people make half the income and the other 80% make the other half, it's a weird situation. On top of that, we're talking about generational monopolies. All right. You know, the Ewings, you know, the J.R. Ewings and the Dallas, the dynasty stuff, they're not really monopolies, are they? They're just rich families in a competitive city, right? In Dallas, in LA, right? Right. But we're talking about generational monopolies. And you know what has happened recently? Nexium, a billionaire Canadian heiress, had nothing better to do with her money than to start a human trafficking cult to fund it. That's generational monopoly. After 100 years, a billionaires in Canada had nothing better to do than to traffic teenage girls. Okay? It's a scary ass situation. These Canadians, what they let into their brain, what comes out, is totally whack. All right? I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.